There are a ton of chilling and unforgettable horror games out there for you to feast upon, but for the most part these games give you the ability to fight back. You have a chance to survive and make it through the night. However, some of the most terrifying games out there don't allow you this luxury. Some games only give you the option to run or hide, leaving you completely defenseless against your enemies. So today on Top 5 Scary Videos, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 5 scary horror games with no way to fight back. Before we begin though, be sure to stick around until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. With that, let's jump in. Coming in at number 5, Five Nights at Freddy's. Often abbreviated to FNAF, this is an indie game that was first released back in 2014. In the first 3 games of the series, the player controls a nighttime security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza who must utilize security cameras and other tools to survive against animatronic characters which become mobile and homicidal after hours. It is absolutely terrifying, as all you can do is monitor the security cameras, open and close doors, and answer the phone when the former employee calls. Otherwise, you're left defenseless against these terrifying animatronic creatures that are hell-bent on taking you down. The game is essentially an intense chess match between you and the creatures, and to make matters worse, you can't fight back. All you can do is last long enough to reach 6 AM when your shift ends. The first game is truly chilling and has some great jump scares, but sadly the FNAF series has become oversaturated over the years, with endless sequels and spin-offs. The series became such a hit that it appeared in the Guinness Book of Records Games edition, setting a record for the largest number of sequels released in a year. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that the original is still an insanely scary challenge that many struggle to complete. Coming in at number 4, PT. PT, standing for Playable Teaser, is a first-person psychological horror game released back in 2014 for a limited time. The game was directed and designed by Hideo Kojima in collaboration with director Guillermo del Toro. Del Toro would later go on to appear in Hideo's game Death Stranding. Anyway, released for the PlayStation 4 on August 12, 2014, PT served primarily as an interactive teaser for the game Silent Hills, a cancelled installment in the Silent Hill series. Sadly though, after the game was cancelled, Konami removed PT from the PlayStation Store and got rid of the option to reinstall the game if it had been deleted. The game itself, unlike Silent Hill, used a first-person perspective and centered on an unknown character who was controlled by the player, who awakens in a haunted suburban home and experiences relentless supernatural occurrences. You explore the L-shaped corridors of the home in an endless loop, and the only actions the player can use are walking and zooming. That is it. To progress, the player must keep navigating the corridors and solving cryptic puzzles. Each time a loop is successfully completed, changes appear in the corridor, which are usually terrifying. After the player solves the final puzzle, they escape the house, with the ending revealing that it is a playable teaser for Silent Hills. Sadly though, there is no way to play this game unless someone put a secret copy out there into the world, but I don't know if that's true. In at number 3 we have Slender the 8 Pages. Released in June 2012, Slender the 8 Pages is a free-to-play horror survival game based on the folklore meme figure known as the Slender Man. The game takes place in the middle of a forest during the night, with your sole objective being to collect all 8 notes located in various areas of the forest while avoiding the Slender Man. As you collect the pages, the fog in the forest grows increasingly thicker, and Slender Man appears closer and closer to the player. Now Slender moves by teleporting, and you as the player are equipped with just a flashlight to see through the dark. Other than that, you have no way to fight back. All you can do is jog and sometimes sprint. However, the game is oddly annoying in the sense that if you take too long finding one of the 8 pages, the game will end. Or if you stare at Slender for too long, or if Slender comes in contact with you, the game will end. The game is incredibly effective for what it is, and with no way to fight back, it is far more haunting than it has any right to be. Thankfully, we ended up getting a full game from this free-to-play version called Slender the Arrival. You still collect 8 pages, but there are more missions, more for you to interact with, and more creepy characters that chase you around the game. But the one thing that remains the same is that you can't fight back. All you can do is run. Or shine your flashlight. In at number 2 we have Amnesia The Dark Descent. Released in 2010, Amnesia The Dark Descent is a survival horror game that centers on protagonist Daniel, who is forced to explore a dark and foreboding castle while trying to maintain his sanity by avoiding monsters and other terrifying obstructions. The game is a first-person adventure game, and you take control of Daniel, who must navigate Brennenburg Castle while solving puzzles. Along the way, Daniel's sanity must be managed, centered around an afraid of darkness mechanic. Sanity is ultimately reduced by staying in the dark for too long, witnessing unsettling events, or looking directly at monsters. If your sanity drops, this results in visual and auditory hallucinations, and an increased chance of attracting monsters. It's a vicious circle of hiding from monsters to going insane from hiding from monsters to attracting more monsters because you're going insane from hiding from the monsters. This game is honestly terrifying. Light sources do help restore sanity. If none are available, Daniel can use tinderboxes to ignite candles and torches or deploy an oil burning lantern, saying that though tinderboxes are limited throughout the game, so you have to be very careful. Daniel has no means of fighting monsters, so he must avoid them or outrun them. He can however withstand a few attacks from a monster, but only a few before he dies. The player can hinder monsters though by closing doors and building barricades from nearby objects. The game is incredibly difficult and absolutely terrifying for those wanting to play it. You have been warned. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Outlast 1 and 2. Released back in 2013, Outlast is a first-person survival horror game that revolves around freelance investigative journalist Miles Upshur, who decides to investigate a remote psychiatric hospital named Mount Massive Asylum, located deep in the mountains of Colorado. As the player, you assume the role of Miles as he navigates the dilapidated hospital that has now become overrun by homicidal patients. Now, the game is in the first-person perspective and features stealth gameplay mechanics, and while the player can walk, run, crouch, jump and climb things, you cannot fight back or attack enemies, and on top of that there is no visible health bar on the screen. So instead, as Miles, you must rely on stealth tactics, hide in lockers, sneak past enemies, remain in the shadows and use your night vision camera in order to survive. Speaking of cameras, most of the hospital is unlit, meaning that the only way for you to see is through the lens of a camcorder equipped with night vision. However, this is where things get tricky. Using night vision drains your batteries, and on top of hiding and creeping past enemies, you have to constantly keep your eyes peeled for batteries, which can be found throughout the asylum. The game is absolutely terrifying simply because of how limited you are. All you can really do is run and hide, hoping that you won't be spotted. It is a frighteningly good time if you're in a mood for a horror game to play tonight. Not to mention, the game was such a success it spawned Outlast 2, which is equally as terrifying. The second game centers on journalist Blake Langerman as he is forced to roam around the backwoods of Arizona, which is inhabited by a deranged sect that believes the end of days are upon us. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with our list? With any horror games that we missed? Leave us your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we can do a part 2. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos. Top 5 bizarre urban legends you won't believe. Sad Seal said, Lucy, did you ever see The Old Woman in Black? The only movie that freaks me out. Yes, I have seen it, and it freaked me out. I still remember where I was when I watched it. I was a teenager, I was living in Calgary, and I threw my laptop right at the end where the man's like, Nathaniel, Nathaniel, and then the ghost woman comes. I don't even talking about at this point. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Christopher Mendes said, all these legends pale in comparison to that of Lucifer. In the middle of the night she will enter your home, she'll steal your rum, then your hoodies, and lastly your soul. All hail the pale goddess. Thank you. You really know me well, even my drink of choice. It's a little concerning, but thanks. Damien said, your laughter is awesome, Lucy, but your Annie Wilkes impression, wow. I guess you all liked it when I pretended to break someone's ankles with a sledgehammer, so you're welcome. Laurie Kamrotsky said, brand new to the channel, love it so far. Well, thank you for joining us, I'm glad you like it. Stick around if you want, but just on my videos, not Keegan's. No one's here for Keegan. Keegan's not even here for Keegan. Where is Keegan? We don't know. Snowwolf Alpha said, hello, I subbed, liked and turned on notifications. Good. Well done, you're listening. There, Emily said, you're cute. I think I know who this is. We all know who this is. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another scary vid. And until next time, see you later. But anyway, we're not going to talk about the walking simulator. That's a gaming reference. There we go.
It may be Hideo, or I think you said Hideo. I don't think it might be Hideo. But
it is Hideo. Hideo Kojima. Hold on. I'll just go to the top of this point because of the name. Am I gonna everyone up?
That's what John come 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. Alright, so if we just scroll up a tiny bit. Okay, cool. The game was directed by The game was directed and designed by Hideo, right? Lol. Revolves around freelance investigative. Just doesn't sound like a word anymore. Remain in the shadows.